from corporate companies by charging them over 100,000 shillings for a vaccine purported to be AstraZeneca. State House Health Monitoring Unit received a tip-off from the office of the RCC Nakawa that a group of people are vaccinating against COVID-19 in places not designated by the Ministry of Health for this exercise. The unit, together with the Chieftaincy of Military Intelligence and Police, impounded 158 pieces of vaccination cards, 90 doses of vaccine, syringes and consent forms purported to be properties of the Uganda government.
Most of these institutions that have been either scammed or they got a wrong vaccine or something happened, it's because they wanted an easy way out, short-term gains for long-term issues.
The cards are pre-stamped with KCCA Chiswa Health Center, although suspects had cards that indicated they were KCCA staff. The authority denied them. The State House Health Monitoring Unit, after contacting national medical stores, discovered that the vaccine batch number is not among the 3 imported in the country.
This batch number is not known, did not come to Uganda, is not expected to be in Uganda, is unknown to national medical stores.
The plans to contact National Drug Authority are aimed at ascertaining the substance in the bottles rounded up. The liquid therein was more than 5 mils as opposed to the known international AstraZeneca vaccine.
Secondly, the top is so tampered with that it lends credence to adulteration and some kind of fake something. It's so dirty, it is so pricked.
The resident city commissioner, Nakawa Herbert Anderson Wurira, has warned the public against panic and involving themselves in matters that will cause more harm than COVID-19.
As the process is ongoing of verifying the content that is in these vials, if it comes out that the vials are not containing the right vaccines, the right substances, then these people are not vaccinated. And they will sit thinking they were vaccinated, which will make them vulnerable.
Meanwhile, Waiswa Robert, suspected to have been involved in the Nansana vaccine theft, has been arrested and held at Chira police station to help in the investigations. I'm Navka Farida and Gloria Gwetabinji in Kampala.
Parliament of Uganda has constituted a 6-member national task force to coordinate with government in responding to the COVID-19 pandemic. Unveiling the team at Parliament, Deputy Speaker Anita Among encouraged the public to embrace the vaccination and standard operating procedures against COVID-19. Among also clarified on Speaker Jacob Olanya's absence from the public arena. She says the absence has nothing to do with the ongoing rumors about his health, but rather an agreed upon working calendar of Parliament.
The new Parliamentary COVID-19 National Task Force will be chaired by Bugweri County Member of Parliament Abdu Katuntu and deputized by Kazo County MP Dan Atwijukire. These, alongside other members, will be required to inquire into and report on government preparedness and response to the pandemic.
And when you look at the national team, we've involved a lawyer who can be able to interpret whatever is being done in the task force and get the legal interpretation towards what is being done.
In liaison with the regional parliamentary support teams, the role played by the private sector healthcare providers in COVID-19 management will be assessed. The 36 members of parliament from different regions of the country will be required to oversee response interventions in the specific sub-regions.
To assess the operation, administration, and management of funds and other resources appropriated for them at this time of the pandemic.
This will be complementary to other roles which Parliament has played before in responding to COVID-19.
Parliament has approved funds up to the tune of 1.08 trillion as a budget support to COVID-19 response. 2, Parliament has previously conducted field visits and oversight assessment of the health facilities in the whole country.
The unveiling of this team comes at a time Speaker of Parliament Jacob Olanya's absence has caused anxiety and curiosity among the public. This has been clarified by Deputy Speaker Anita Annette Among.
They voted for the Speaker of Parliament and the Deputy Speaker of Parliament. And we have a working calendar. And the working calendar, we agreed each of us should work for 2 months. And it so happened that I am the one who started. So after my time of the 2 months, the Speaker will come. So the Speaker of Parliament is okay, is fine. We are following the calendar that we scheduled as the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker.
Uganda first reported its first case of COVID-19 in March 2020. The country has since embarked on preventive measures against the pandemic, a campaign that Parliament has been part of. Henry Okurut, UBC.
And following weeks of sharp contradictions and a split in opinions over its efficacy, the National Drug Authority has notified COVID-19, a local drug earlier touted as a cure for COVID-19, to rather be sold in drug outlets as supportive treatment in the management of viral infections. According to NDA, this drug, made by Mbarara University scientists led by Professor Patrick Ogwang, has been approved for use based on initial assessment, published literature, and safety studies conducted by the innovator.
Cleared COVID-19, a local drug, to be used as herbal medicine in the treatment and management of viral infections. This was announced by NDA Secretary to the Authority, Dr. David Nahamia.
He informs the public that after a record time of 14 days of engagements with the innovators and assessments of the product information, COVID-19 has been notified to be sold in licensed drug outlets for supportive treatment in management of viral infections, but not as a cure of COVID-19. The product should be used under guidance of a professional health worker.
This approval was informed by assessment, published literature, and safety studies conducted by the innovator. NDA also says they will continue to monitor the safety of COVID-19 drug through the post-market surveillance activities.
We call upon the public to immediately report any side effects from the use of this product to our own toll-free line, which is mentioned there. The product has been formulated from herbal plants that have been traditionally used to alleviate symptoms of several diseases. These plants are known, even some of you might be knowing them. To further support the efficacy of the drug for other uses, National Drug Authority has advised the manufacturer to conduct clinical trials which are at the highest level of evidence to ascertain any claims of treatment.
The drug, manufactured by Mbarara University scientists led by Professor Ogwang, has been selling out quickly and in large quantities at pharmacies across the country. Samuel Sendono, UBC News.
Approved a proposal by the National COVID-19 Task Force to transfer cash to vulnerable persons in urban areas who depend on daily earning, which has been interrupted by the COVID-19 containment measures. Now, a total amount of 100,000 shillings will be disbursed to each person.
As the second wave of COVID-19 intensifies, President Yoweri Museveni on 18th June instituted new measures that included the 41 days of partial lockdown to curb large gatherings and movements of persons to reduce further infections of the pandemic. Unlike last year, during the first lockdown, when government distributed food to the urban poor, majority in Kampala metropolitan area, this time, relief will be distributed in form of cash to the most affected individuals. The Minister of Information, Communication Technology and National Guidance, Dr. Rhoda Ngozi, led a team of ministers on the task force to brief the country on how Cabinet intends to fulfill this through the Office of the Prime Minister and the Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development.
Yesterday, 28 June 2021, Cabinet approved the proposal that I presented on behalf of the National Task Force to transfer to the vulnerable persons in urban areas who depend on daily earning, and their daily earning has been interrupted by COVID-19, quota of 100,000 shillings net each, is to be guided by nature of occupation.
The categories to benefit include bus, taxi drivers and conductors, border riders, baggage carriers, wheelbarrow pushers, touts, traffic guides and loaders in taxi, bus parks and stages, and other major centers such as Chikubo. Others include barmen, DJs, barmaids, waiters and bouncers, bar, gym and restaurant workers, food vendors in bus, taxi parks and arcades, artists that include musicians, comedians, producers and promoters, border riders, special hire and Uber drivers, saloons and massage parlor workers, teachers and support staff in private schools, and teachers in government schools not on government payroll will also be considered. Others will be car washers, slum dwellers, street vendors, shoe shiners and cobblers, orphans, and vulnerable children. According to the Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development, Betty Amongi, registration targeting 507 households countrywide, 38% of which in Kampala Metropolitan, kicks off tomorrow up to 4th July.
However, I want to indicate that most of the data for these informal workers are already with the town clerks.
Minister Amongi further broke down how this money is expected to be spent.
Purchase of 20 kilograms of posho, and we have calculated a kilo of posho at 2,000, that gives you 40,000. Purchase of 10 kilograms of beans at 2,500, which gives you 25,000. Purchase of 1 bar of soap at 3,000. Purchase of 3 liters of cooking oil at 4,000 a liter, which gives you 12,000. And if you calculate that, will give you 80,000. Then we decided to add for you 20,000 for any other thing.
The Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Matia Kasaija, said a total of 64.7 billion Uganda shillings has been set aside to cater for the same. Other sectors will also benefit from the 600 billion approved by Cabinet for Uganda to overcome the pandemic.
So health, 206, they are taking the lion's share, 0.4 billion. Security, 50.0 billion. Relief, which Honorable Minister in charge of that sector has been telling you, is 54.7 billion. Then local government, they will take 53.7, and then ICT 8.1 billion.
They will enforce SOPs. They will support, make sure that there is no criminality taking advantage of the lockdown. There must be protection of lives and the property of the people.
Up to 1,180 COVID-19 patients are currently admitted to hospitals. The government reported 345 new infections and 38 new deaths for June 27, pushing the cumulative total infections to 79,434 and deaths to 989.
The good news, and which we want you, the media, to pass on with that majority of the people who contract coronavirus actually recover from it.
Bernard Higa, UBC News, Kampala.
Of Defense Forces General Wilson Mbadi has assumed office following his appointment by the Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces and President of Uganda, General Yoweri Museveni, last week. While handing over the instrumental power at Mbuya-based Ministry of Defense headquarters in Kampala, the outgoing Chief of Defense Forces, General David Muhoozi, urged the successor to be on the lookout of threats by terrorists. Philip Aguta has more.
The handover ceremony started by decorating the incoming Chief of Defense Forces from a 3-star general to a full 4-star general before he was handed over powers that comes with the office. The same incoming Chief of Defense Forces has been deputy for the last 4.5 years, and at the same ceremony, he handed over his office to the new Deputy CDF Lieutenant General Peter Eluelu, the former Commander Land Forces. The outgoing CDF, who has also been appointed State Minister for Internal Affairs, urged the successor to be on the lookout of threats by the terrorists.
In spite of these isolated cases of threats, we are generally stable. Due to the instability in DRC and South Sudan, and then of course the publicized hostility to the southwest of our frontier, we experience also sometimes episodes of insecurity adjacent to these borders. The UPDF has nevertheless effectively managed to counter all these threats, and we are in large measure peaceful and stable across the country.
The humble-looking general also tasked Mbadi to work hard to improve the welfare of the officers.
Unfinished but are very important and require your keen attention. Welfare, housing for troops. The concept for these houses is complete and is now a bankable project. It was captured in the budget speech, albeit without requisite funding. I had people cheer at Kololo, but when we looked below the veil, the money wasn't there. So I would want to caution that rather than wait for the big bang approach of doing all at once when money is available, it is advisable to scale this ambition and start with modest numbers of houses at a time for our service personnel.
General Mbadi, who hails from Kasese, joined Uganda People's Defense Forces in 1986. He worked in various army divisions, including being President Museveni's chief bodyguard. He pledged cohesion among the officers.
Because you made a good foundation by your predecessors, made by your predecessors, I promise that I will pick from there and then make my contribution just like everybody else has made his, but in the direction of making things better, making our force more effective, more efficient, more accountable.
The incoming Deputy Chief of Defense Forces, Lieutenant General Peter Eluelu, who is the former Commander Land Forces, commended President Museveni for the opportunity to serve the country.
I also want to give thanks to my President and Commander-in-Chief, His Excellency General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, for the trust he has always put in me. Even when the world has rejected me, he has never. He has always stayed on the path of truth. For he has nothing in him, but he has the spirit of truth.
The Minister for Defense and Veteran Affairs, Vincent Sempija, was the chief guest at the handover ceremony. He pledged his support to the UPDF bosses to keep the peace, stability and security of the country.
All of you generals who have been promoted, on behalf of my brother Jacob, for both, and our sister who is not here, we want to wish you success in your new assignments. And on behalf of that team, I wish to pledge commitment to working together with you in pushing the UPDF from the good standing your predecessors have left it at to greater heights.
Philip Aguta, UBC News in Kampala.
Newly appointed ministers in the Lands, Housing and Urban Development docket have this Tuesday assumed office with a call to iron out land grabbing issues and work towards proper urbanization. Rhoda Ngozi has more.
This morning, the State Minister for Lands, Sam Mayanja, has been officially ushered into office at an event presided over by the Lands Ministry Permanent Secretary.
The survey. This is a very challenging ministry because it's a ministry that is very, very important to each and every person, each and every individual. So when you find something of that nature, the challenges will always be many.
I'm not here to take away people's land. I'm here to make sure that every Ugandan will have security of tenure on their land. If you own land, Milo, please have security of tenure.
Manja takes over the mantle from Bukono County Member of Parliament, Persis Namuganza, with a caution against giving room to illegal land evictions.
I've been in this docket and I know what it means. There is a time where you find that the one who is evicting the people are the so-called powerful, and my technical people know. I sometimes say, hey, Honorable Minister, you are going into that one. That one is they are said the other person. I have always been telling my peers that I don't mind about the other person. What I mind about is for me to execute my duty when I'm still there. If I'm not there, like I will not be there, fine, I will not be there, but I now would have left Honorable Mayanja if. But as long as I'm there, I will always hold my ground, and this ministry, they know.
Also later in the day, the newly appointed Minister for ICT and National Guidance, Dr. Chris Bariumusi, who was moved from the Lands and Housing docket, handed over instruments of powers to his successor, Persis Namuganza.
We take the opportunity to hand over these documents and instruments to my sister.
Our population is growing very fast. Now, when the population increases and grows like that, then you must provide the attendant services to this population. The challenge now becomes you must provide schools, you must provide health facilities, you must train doctors, you must train teachers to match this population which is increasing. Now, one of the key services which you can't run away is housing, because housing and shelter is a basic necessity.
In what seems to be a mere change of office and title, Namuganza vows to pick it from where her predecessor has ended.
I really take serious and see how serious this landlord-tenant bill is. And the landlord tells you, Minister, this is my house. I'm tired of that who is ever eating chicken, dressing up, putting on lipstick, putting on high-heeled shoes. She can't even pay.
The Lands Ministry has in the past and still remains one of the most controversial ministries in the country. Thus, if not competently handled well, may drive the country into continued land wrangles. Rhoda Ngozi, UBC.
Thank you. Now, the outgoing Secretary General of the National Resistance Movement Party, NRM, Justin Kasule Lumumba, has pledged to continue working hand in hand with the party leaders to see the NRM achieve its desired goals. Let's take a look.
The National Resistance Movement outgoing Secretary General Justin Kasule Lumumba Emeritus has today officially handed over the office to the new Secretary General Richard Todong. Lumumba, who was recently appointed as Minister for General Duties in the Office of the Prime Minister, has highlighted a number of achievements during her 6-year tenure.
Our biggest assignment then as a team was to cause unity, harmony, and cohesion in the party, to keep the party together at a time when we were supposed to take on elections, and with the sole intention of winning, so that the party remains with the mandate to lead this country.
She pledged support and had worked towards the party to us and when she's needed to have the party's goals achieved.
I remain indebted to them individually, but also as a team, but most importantly to the party.
Incoming Secretary General Richard Todong pledged total hard work and loyalty to the leadership of NRM. Top on his agenda is collective strength and improving the unity in the party.
We will not tolerate intrigue, blackmail, cliques, and laziness. Our organization has assigned us a responsibility on behalf of the people of Uganda and on behalf of the organization. And therefore, we do not need to let our leaders down.
The chief guest, who was Second Deputy Prime Minister Right Honorable Moses Ali, and the NRM Vice Chairperson Alhaj Moses Chigongo, called upon the new leadership to work with unity and transparency.
This is the time the Wananchi are expecting a lot from you, and you must move very fast. Go to the Wananchi and work and deliver.
Oh, the strength should be a rightful policy, positive policy.
Among the instruments of power handed over to the new Secretary General was the constitution of the party, the flags both for the party and the country, land titles, among others. Jane Ngramitsha, Andrew Sebira, UBC News.
And with that, we'll take a quick break. When we return, more details. This is News Tonight.
We've cut and reduced our MTN Momo withdrawal rates. Now you can withdraw mobile money at the lowest rates. You also get MTN Central Points when you deposit, send, and withdraw MTN mobile money. Visit our Momo agents countrywide and withdraw mobile money at our reduced rates from 1st May 2021. Everywhere you go, MTN.
What does it mean to be closer together? It's taking the last bus home for a surprise visit. Closer together is strangers finding a connection. It's bringing home something much more than a box. It's the warmth of home, or the beginning of something new. There's magic in sharing the things that we learn, because it's those things that bring us close together.
COVID-19, chija kubwa. If we get vaccinated now, observe social distancing, wear a mask properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly. Together we can defeat this enemy.
Therefore, understanding this model.
lady, who do you think you are? A queen?
Hey, haven't you heard? Get Airtel Chillax bundles and browse like a queen.
Get Airtel Chillax bundles that do not expire and browse like a queen or king. Dial *175# or use My Airtel app.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
In efforts to improve quality assurance and Uganda's competitiveness as a tourist destination, Uganda Tourism Board is set to undertake a nationwide grading and classification exercise of hotel and accommodation facilities. As a member of the East African community, Uganda subscribes to the East African Grading and Classification Criteria, a system denoted by stars ranging from 1 to 5. The grading and classification exercise will be crowned by the awarding of star ratings to facilities found compliant to the EAC minimum standards. This is therefore a call to all accommodation and facility owners and managers to register and get licensed by UTB as a requirement and get ready for participation. For more information, visit www.utb.go.ug or email qualityassurance@utb.go.ug for details. Uganda Tourism Board, promoting tourism together.
Welcome back. You are still watching News Tonight. Now, city traders are requesting government to allow them access downtown Kampala, collect their products from their business premises, and find other means of survival. Traders say that ever since the lockdown was announced, they do not have access to their shops, and as a result, their products are getting spoiled.
Despite of its impact on public health, COVID-19 has caused an economic shock, and in this report I explore the impact of COVID-19 on the small business landscape in downtown Kampala amidst the 42 days lockdown, focusing on the 3 grounds amidst cries of businessmen and women blocked to access their business premises as measures to scale down the spread of COVID-19.
Kubanga atafa abera bagenda okufiirwa tetulina byakulya esente twade tuzijja mu bintu bye tukola naye amaduuka gago maggale tujja batugoba bugobi twandibadde bawuliriza ensonga zaffe ez'okubeera nga tugira.
The first leg of my probe is how are small business allowed to operate, adjusting to the economic disruptions resulting from COVID-19. The findings point to the fact that there are no adjustments at all, since there would be potential buyers can't access downtown as the lockdown bites harder.
The president put it very clear for cargo to move, but for cargo to move on a truck to reach my shop, say in Container Village or Room Street, when the shop is locked, when the store is locked, that means that truck will overcharge me and I will not sell my merchandise. Some of the merchandise are perishable. So if we delay so much to offload or to open up, those merchandise will perish and I will make a loss, the government will make a loss.
My second line of investigation was whether the business community crying foul had any idea about the length of the crisis, but I've established that many of them are uncertain whether after 42 days the government will open up. But chances with the increasing numbers of people succumbing to COVID-19, the status quo is likely to go beyond the 42 days.
Funaya lero tuli bubi abetisi bakondakita ababodaboda abawereze mmere abawala bakola mu betting bona kati bali ku nguudo tebalina kyakulya.
Despite of these reactions, my presence downtown enriches the understanding of these watching the expectations of business owners at critical point in time when both the progression of COVID-19 and the government's response are quite uncertain. I spoke to small businessmen, and they are now towing a line of concession, pleading with the government to consider loosening the lockdown and allow them collect their products, which they say are getting spoiled.
Musaba bajje bakiriza abasuubuzi bajjemu ebintu nesimanyi bamukuhudu ala sisi wa Kampala ebbaluwa yagituusa gyalina gitwala kubanga yatugamba ebbaluwa yagenda gitwala mu kakiiko ka COVID balabenga bayamba ku basuubuzi nesimanyi oba RCC yali atuukiriza omulimu ogwo kubanga buli lwenerwawo okukolebwa abantu bagenda kufiirwa ebintu ate ne gavumenti isuubira nti esobola okwagala okufuga abantu abaavu.
Traders dealing in perishable goods note that every day lorries flow Kikubo to collect the already spoiled products for dumping.
Najjamu n'asuula n'atambula n'agenda buli waggulu nabugabo najja n'ayoola ebisaaniiko kati temulimu ebisaaniiko naye asinga kutwala ebintu ebyonoonese bye mulabaawo emmotoka n'efuluma n'egenda kati kikoledde okumala wiki nga nnamba basuula busuuzi bintu atubadde tusaba gavumenti ejje eggulirewo abantu batwale abalina ebyonooneka baggulewo batwale ebintu byabwe.
Other city vendors like mango sellers have also appealed to the president to pardon and allow them continue operating on street since their income is based on hand to mouth.
Naye embeera gye tulimu mbi kubanga basirikale batugobaganya kanse tutulugunya tebatugulako tetulina kyakulya okiraba.
They note that they cannot stay at home when they have children to feed.
Batugamba abantu tulemwe kukola naye twebuuza tulemwe kukola tujje ki fe tuli bamufuna mpole olwenkoze lwenfune ekyokulya n'abaana bayo kusomero bali wakatu baliise ki bali badde bagamba nti singa bapulaninga kuggalawo bali badde baggalawo bagamba nti leero twe tugaddewo enkya tubawa ssente naye kati wayise wiiki namba naffe tutudde tulaba nga tiwali kigenda mu maaso omwana ng'agenda kufiira mu nju n'ensalo ningamba kanzijje nkole.
Saddam Mubale, UBC News, Kampala.
Police and sister security agencies have entered the second day, intensifying their grip on to those who are not authorized to be driving or riding on the roads, except for those with electronic sticker licenses issued by the Ministry of Works, specifically for those prescribed as essential workers and allowed to provide public services in the 42 days partial lockdown declared by the President on 18th June 2021. Now, the move seeks to have vehicles of all those in breach of the presidential directive on the restriction of movements as a measure to scale down the spread of COVID-19 impounded and slap monetary penalties to refrain them from committing the same offense. During a raid around Kampala, Wandegea roundabout was one of the spots and major entry way to the central business district of Kampala, where police had mounted a roadblock impounding vehicles of those who were not in possession of the required electronic stickers issued by the Uganda government. Many of the road users affected included those in the private sector, like businessmen and women running retail and wholesale businesses in downtown Kampala under lockdown. In this tight operation, it could take about 5 to 10 minutes to ascertain the authenticity of the electronic stickers for those who are in possession of them. Now, motorbike riders are clear to proceed as long as they are not carrying people, but rather luggage, while essential workers without electronic permits issued by the Ministry of Works and Transport were pardoned for today. Different routes leading to the city centre had roadblocks with heavy deployment, and some traffic officers were seen recording number plates of different vehicles.
Byenkola supply kati wempitidde wano nga sirina element nebankwata kati nze nga manyi oba bali byakusaaga ne bambuuza element yeliwa ne bagamba element wali omukwano gwange yansabyeko element n'agitwala kati ne bankwata epiki ne bajingiza kati ne bamala ne bampa receipt ne ngenda okusasula mu banka kati badde nakamala kusasula mu banka ne bampa piki yange nsasuddeyo omutwalo 4 kwegweto yo yerambudde bulungi bakola emirimu gyabwe kubanga nabo bagobera amateeka ga gavumenti si bo beesalidde ngaabo kati ababodaboda banange nze kyembasaba goberera amateeka oba bagamba otika oba tebagambye tewali okutika omuntu beera nga totisa omuntu tika omuntu gwomanya ati guli ku mateeka.
The World Health Summit regional meeting held in Kampala has unanimously adopted the need for heads of states to front emergency care as an important component of universal health coverage. The World Health Summit is one of the global forums where world leaders unite and commit to respond to issues that threaten the health of the population.
One would be right to describe COVID-19 as an eye-opener, especially for African leaders, to realize that emergency care is an essential component of universal health coverage. The topic of improving emergency care, especially in African countries, was key at the World Health Summit held in Kampala. Uganda's health players admit that a lot needs to be done to improve the country's emergency care that requires a well-coordinated ambulance system.
When you look at the annual health sector performance reports, you find that the 10 causes of mortality in the country, 7 of them, seven of the topmost causes of mortality in the country are presenting as emergency conditions. And we noted that only 7% of the emergency patients actually reached hospital using ambulances. And we had a high maternal, we still have a high maternal mortality ratio, high road traffic accidents.
The summit adopted in its resolutions that emergency care during the COVID-19 pandemic be consolidated by regional member states.
We have an opportunity to do a little bit of a strategic shift from previous times when we've had specific investments in, let's say, TB, HIV, specific diseases, and did recognize that there was a special opportunity in emergency care, not only as an entry point into the health system, but also we did realize that investments in emergency care do have a ripple effect that also supports investments in other areas of the health sector.
The topics discussed at the World Health Summit regional meeting include the health of African youth, advancing technology for health in Africa, tackling infectious diseases, non-communicable diseases, and all those are in line with the objective to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals of achieving universal health coverage. Adiana Kute, UBC.
The Ministry of Health has delivered 670 doses of vaccines to Masindi district for the second phase of the vaccination. A report was delivered by the district health officer, Baguma Patrick.
Meeting which was chaired by the RDC, Narongo Chirabira emphasized the SOPs that the community should stop unnecessary driving, bar opening at village centers, and appeal to local leaders to monitor the community.
We are all informed. They already announced. We have put it on our platform. That's not enough. At the end of the day, it zeroes on you, the head. People have started turning hostile. But how are we going to continue monitoring and managing them to keep their low profile in the good moods?
The district health officer Masindi, Patrick Baguma, appreciated the government for the efforts it has put to fight COVID-19 and the vaccine which has been delivered on time.
We appreciate the efforts of the government to fight COVID-19 in our district. Last Thursday at around 5:30 we were able to receive some vaccines, 670 doses. For the first phase we received 4,630 doses, whereby we're expecting at least a similar number of the doses because we expect people now to be going for the second jab. And today we have really commenced the exercise of vaccination, whereby we are really giving the second dose to those who had already got the first dose.
Dr. Musindi Rogers, the head of the COVID-19 case management in Masindi district, called on the Minister of Health to provide PPEs for patients' interface with health workers on time.
But the biggest challenge is we do not have the basic PPEs. So if you don't have a mask, you don't have a coverall, you don't have sanitizer even, how do you go and interface with these patients? So we are finding it a very big challenge for the fellow health workers who are on the front line.
I want to take this opportunity and thank our 3 MPs of Masindi, Bujenje, Masindi Municipality, and Buruli. 3 of them, they have contributed a donation of 2 million shillings to buy fuel for this committee so that it goes around to reach its people.
Meanwhile, numerous report surveys indicate a drastic increase in the number of abuse and violations of domestic workers since the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic early last year. Former external maids working in Arab countries like Saudi Arabia, Oman, among others, have pledged free legal services to address the challenges of domestic workers. Now, this was at the launch of the Rights for Maids Association, Uganda.
The outbreak of coronavirus at the end of March last year saw government stop all forms of public gatherings, closure of schools, restricting cross-border movements, curbing public transport, and suspending home visits, among other measures, to stop the spread of the virus. All these measures have since then affected the labor sector, with many employees losing their jobs, with economists predicting a loss of more than 2 million jobs since the pandemic last year. Domestic workers who tend to do household chores, especially women in both informal and formal employment, have fallen victims to unemployment, losing incomes, termination of work, stranded in homes due to suspension of public transport, thus limiting them to return home. Many have faced the abuse and violation of their rights. Research made in August last year showed over 30 cases were reported in line with termination and non-payment. However, this has been the same with those working in Arab countries, and in January of 2019, Ugandan government banned the maids from going to Saudi Arabia for external work after one worker was abused, having worked under poor and harsh conditions.
Kubanga nanoonya nyamba essaawa eyo nga simulaba, nakuba amasimu n'abantu alabe nnyini nga tekuli asobola kunnyamba ekiseera ekyo. Nga wano mu ggwanga abatutwala oba ebitongole ebitutwala tebifaayo.
It is because of such challenges that former external workers who preferably don't want to be called Bakadama, led by A1 Jennifer Nabumba, joined the efforts to form Rights for Maids Association Uganda to help address the issues concerning maids,
which include human trafficking, body organ trafficking, hard labor, underpay or no pay, violation of contracts, no monitoring at all of.
Nabumba says the association is to provide legal aid to those tortured, skilling them, among other services.
This situation will not continue happening under our watch. That's why we call upon you, the Labor Externalization Fraternity, to work with us, Rights for Maids Association Uganda. It will provide domestically such trained professional maids to public.
Calvin Kayanja, a legal advisor on the rights of external workers, however, attributes the overgrowing numbers of girls with seasoned mistreatment as maids to rampant human trafficking by recruitment companies.
Abantu bano bakukusa bannyinaffe ne babalimba emirimu ne babajjako essente empitirivu, babajjako omusimbi ogususse nga babalimbye emirimu, bwe batuuka nga babasudde mu magwanga g'Abawalabu ne beesanga bali mu kattu. Bangi banyigirizibwa ne bafoosingibwa okukola obwamalaaya ku lw'obuwaze. Yagendera ku visit visa alaba eweddeko tafunye na mulimu ogwo gwe bamulimbira Uganda n'asalawo yeetunde.
According to a report surveyed by United Nations last year, 4 out of every 10 female domestic workers were verbally abused and physically tortured. Ivan Joko, UBC News.
Robbery Health Center 3 in Luweero District has received an ambulance from State Minister for Higher Education, Dr. John Chrysostom Muyingo. The health center has been using bicycles, motorcycles and special hire vehicles to transport expectant mothers to referral hospital. The minister's support comes in timely.
Mothers and patients in Bamunanika, Luweero District have expressed happiness over a donation of an ambulance by the Minister for Higher Education and former area member of Parliament, Dr. John Chrysostom Muyingo. Bamunanika residents had for some time been using bicycles, motorcycles and special hire taxis to transport patients to Zirowe Health Center 3 and other referral hospitals until this donation. The Mayor Zirowe Town Council, Pascal Amalachi, received the ambulance at a brief event held at Zirowe Health Center 3. Luwero District NRM Chairperson Abdul Waswa handed over the ambulance on behalf of the minister. Amalachi commended Muyingo for the donation and appealed to other political leaders to emulate the minister.
Of which 4 or 3 are referred. So we've been facing a problem of referrals. But with this ambulance, it's not going to be easy for us. We've been using our personal cars to refer these pregnant mothers. I also appeal to the government. Instead of wasting money on useless resources, like sending people money on mobile money, they should just restock these health centers with medicine. They should buy medicine, restock these health centers, provide our nurses, provide our medics with the necessities. They don't even have gears, protective gears. You can see my nurse here. She doesn't even have glasses. This is how they work. So government should come down here to the ground and see exactly what is paying people to help us.
On the issue of government program to support the underprivileged during this time of COVID-19 lockdown, Pascal encouraged government to reduce prices of water, electricity, among others, for communities to benefit. The in-charge Zirowe Health Center 3, Senyonjo Ronald, appealed to the Ministry of Health to support the health facility with staff accommodation and COVID-19 treatment sundries.
Awechitiibwa Dr. Jesse Muyingo for donating this ambulance to our facility, that people had very many problems, more so on referrals. So it is going to help us on referrals from here to Kalagala, from Kalagala to Bombo, or from Bombo to Luwero, our main referral hospital. So I want to thank Wechitiibwa Jesse Muyingo for that spirit. I want to thank him so much, and I want to thank the President for seeing him as an important person and be appointed as a minister in his government.
Area leaders, medical workers and community representatives commended President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni for reappointing Minister Dr. John Chrysostom Muyingo. They also heaped praises on the minister for not deserting them.
It's going to ease transportation of our patients. Our patients have been finding a lot of problems, most especially the pregnant.
Announced that Jesse Muyingo has been given a ministry in charge of higher education. We are so happy. Sincerely speaking,
donate us their own cars, even our health care providers have their own cars. So sometimes we've been using those cars. But with the ambulance, it will be very good, it will be fast. Because people have been moving long journeys from here to Bombo.
Salongo Freddy Kasibante compiled this report.
Airtel Uganda has the best and most affordable rates when it comes to withdrawing and sending money. Withdraw money for as low as 330 shillings up to a maximum of 12,500 shillings. Sending money is just as affordable as ever. Absolutely unbeatable. Use Airtel Money on the most affordable network with the largest network of Airtel Money branches in Uganda. Dial *185# to get started. Airtel Money. Simple, secure, borderless.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field couldn't be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite shows.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
The Ministry of Health would like to appreciate Ugandans for their cooperation in ensuring that COVID-19 standard operation procedures are adhered to. However, it would also like to remind the public that cases of neglect tropical diseases are still many. And for that matter, the Ministry of Health, together with Ascend Project, would like to encourage all the people who have signs and symptoms such as swollen stomachs, swollen legs, also known as elephantiasis, and difficult in seeing or blindness, to seek treatment from the nearest government health facilities. Please remember to stay safe and protect yourself by regular hand washing with soap and clean running water, keeping dirty hands away from your eyes, always using pit latrines, and discouraging open defecation in your community to avoid flies that carry germs. Reporting to health facility early when feeling unwell. This message is brought to you by Ministry of Health with support from Ascend Project.
Man, guess what happened yesterday? I entered the what? The taxi. But the pregnancy is from the what? The generator. Then my phone does toot, and the toothbrush breaks in the what? In the porridge. Then I call who?
Wait, what?
First wait, I am still telling you. Then the jerrycan does what?
Love to talk? MTN My Paka Paka now has more minutes. Get My Paka Paka voice bundles to talk and talk at no extra charge. Dial *160*1# to activate My Paka Paka.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Welcome back. You are still watching News Tonight. Tonight Business News. Traders operating in a window market have attributed the low sales to the police brutality inflicted on them and refusing buyers from accessing the market. The outcry was made at the launch of the mosquito net distribution by Minister for Kampala, Hajat Misa Kabanda, where over 1,000 mosquito nets were dispatched.
A delegation from Kampala Capital City Authority and the Minister of Kampala have paid a courtesy visit to Owino market vendors to ascertain whether the guidelines set against COVID-19 are being implemented. The visit also aimed at distributing mosquito nets to vendors sleeping in the market. Over 1,000 vendors will be beneficiaries to these mosquito nets donated by Equity Bank Uganda. The Minister of Kampala, Hajat Misa Kabanda, urged vendors to cooperate with everyone despite their political differences.
I'm here to work with each and every party for unity, and I also encourage teamwork in people. We have to work as a team. If we don't work as a team, we are not going to gain what we want. But teamwork does each and everything. So I'm encouraging each and every person to be compliant in each and everything, such that we win Kampala district or Kampala metropolitan. So as a minister for Kampala, I know we are going to succeed if we sit together, if we work as a team, together with the technical team, together with the politicians. All political parties should come together and work together to work for Kampala people.
However, traders declared the brutality of security officers who have gone to the extent of beating up people with some nursing wounds.
As they insult people, people are going to think that maybe President has ordered them to beat them, President has ordered them to insult people. And as they insult people, we are going to get problems because so many accidents have occurred just because of that insultation. People are getting head injuries, fractures, all sorts of insults.
Hajat Misa Kabanda says government is to look into issues of landlords demanding for rent from tenants. The Executive Director, Kampala Capital City Authority, Dorothy Chisaka, thanked Equity Bank and government for the mosquito nets, which will be distributed in over 8 markets.
The Minister is emphasizing that people who are sleeping in the markets should receive these nets which we have brought today. We want to thank the people of Owino because they've tried to focus on social distancing and all the SOPs. As KCCA, we brought the services near to the people. We are vaccinating here, we are testing for COVID, and we are encouraging people to follow the presidential directive guidelines so that we keep healthy during this time of lockdown.
The acting chairperson of Owino Market, Susan Kushaba, says so far 305 people are sleeping in the market and the distribution is to be done at night.
And we are going to make sure those are the people who will get mosquito nets. Actually, I myself, I sleep in the market, and I will give those markets out at night. Because when you give it at daytime, people will come, those who don't sleep in the market, and claim the net. So my target is on the people who sleep in the market.
Owino Market harbors over 500 vendors, and every vendor will receive a mosquito net with priority given to those sleeping in the market first.
And on the international scene, the South African government confirmed that the highly infectious Delta variant of COVID-19 is behind the current surge in new cases in the country. South Africa is firmly in the grips of its third COVID-19 wave, with infections rapidly rising. South Africa's economic hub, Gauteng province, is the epicenter of the wave.
In the grips of the third COVID-19 wave, with infections rapidly rising. South Africa's economic hub, the Gauteng province, is the epicenter of the wave. The Delta variant, first identified in India, is now worsening the situation. The variant was first detected in India and is rapidly becoming the dominant one in the country.
We remain very worried about the rise in the hospitalization, which is putting a lot of strain in the health facilities in Gauteng. The trends are clearly showing that other provinces are going to experience the trend we are seeing in Gauteng, notably in the Western and Eastern Cape. Nationally, the numbers have surpassed the first wave peak, and we are likely to surpass the second wave peak.
The minister addressed the media after an urgent media conference held by the National Coronavirus Command Council. She was flanked by local scientists. The scientists say the Delta variant has been found to be highly transmissible due to several mutations in the virus. It has spread extremely quickly since its discovery and has now entered 85 countries. They therefore recommend tighter restrictions to combat the new variant.
We now have got a different variant introduced into the current pandemic, which is into our third wave as we speak. Because it's now a different variant, so we will not be surprised when we see a lot more infections happening. What all this says then, it just goes back to what we have been saying, that if we want to then reduce the number of cases, if we want to reduce the transmission rates, we're going to need to make sure that actually we get onto hard restrictions, tighter restrictions.
The health experts are already embarking on monitoring the effectiveness of vaccines that are available in the country, particularly in the context of emerging new variants.
It looks encouraging that so far it looks as if, even in the face of the Delta variant, that most vaccines might be protective against severe disease, and we'll be able to monitor that, and we will need to do that.
That does it for News Tonight. Thank you for sticking with us throughout the hour. I am Rhoda Ngozi. Have yourselves a lovely night.